The Council's worst nightmare. The Galactic Council's chamber was in chaos. A giant hologram flickered in the center of the vast hall, displaying the ruins of once mighty alien fleets and scorched planetary surfaces. The devastation was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Counselors from dozens of species, each more advanced and experienced than the last, murmured in disbelief. The whispers carried one name, a name they had never expected to fear: Earth. The council leader, a towering Relonian with shimmering silver scales, slammed his clawed hand against the podium. Silence. His voice echoed. The chamber fell quiet, but the tension was thick, suffocating. We are here to address the human threat. Let us not waste time on panic. A scrawny, nervous-looking Felarian ambassador stepped forward. His large yellow eyes blinked rapidly as he spoke. Honorable Council, my fleet, my entire fleet, was decimated in the Alpha Charon sector. We thought the humans were primitive, incapable of interstellar warfare. But their ships were something else. The hologram shifted, now showing grainy footage captured during the battle. Alien warships fired beams of energy, massive weapons capable of obliterating cities in a single strike. But the human vessels moved like nothing seen before, darting, weaving, and countering every move with devastating precision. Their weapons didn't just destroy, they obliterated defenses as if they didn't exist. Explain this, demanded the counselor from the Varkan Dominion, his voice sharp and accusing. Your report said Earth had no fleet to match ours. How did they acquire such technology? The Felarian ambassador's ears flattened. We don't know. Their advancements seem impossible. We've been monitoring Earth for decades, and until now, they were nothing but scavengers, barely making it beyond their own solar system. The chamber erupted into heated debate. Accusations flew, voices raised. Some blamed the Felarians for underestimating Earth. Others speculated that humans had found an ally, perhaps an ancient race supplying them with advanced weapons. The truth, however, was far more terrifying. A calm voice broke through the chaos. They adapted. The room turned to face the speaker, a grizzled Zarnak admiral with one cybernetic eye and scars running down his leathery face. Humans took the technology they scavenged and made it better. What you see here, he pointed to the hologram, is not alien influence. This is human ingenuity. The council leader narrowed his eyes. Admiral Gorth, are you suggesting these humans are capable of surpassing us? They are a young species, barely out of their infancy. Admiral Gorth leaned forward, his gaze piercing. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Humans don't just survive, they adapt. They learn faster, think differently. While we rely on centuries of tradition and doctrine, they embrace chaos and unpredictability. That makes them dangerous. The hologram shifted again, this time to show a human ship in detail. It wasn't sleek like the Council's vessels. It was rough, angular, and filled with modifications that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. Alien captains had reported strange, untraceable energy pulses disrupting their systems, shields failing without explanation, and weapons turning useless mid-battle. Every encounter ended the same way. Humans emerged victorious, leaving no survivors to tell the tale. They call it the gravimetric pulse disruptor, said another voice, a council spy who had infiltrated Earth's outer colonies. It renders our energy shields useless, redirects missile trajectories, and shuts down even our most advanced AI systems. The humans built it in less than 5 years, based on scraps from battles we assumed they lost. A shudder ran through the chamber. 5 years. Most species in the galaxy took decades, even centuries, to make advancements of that magnitude. How could humans do it so quickly? They used desperation as fuel, the spy continued. While we dismissed them as insignificant, they studied us. Every battle we fought against them was a lesson for them, a chance to improve. Counselor Varnak of the Methron Union, a being known for his calm and logical demeanor, finally spoke. So what do you propose, Admiral? Should we attack now, before they grow stronger? Admiral Gorth shook his head. Attack them. You'd only speed up their growth. Humans thrive on conflict. The more you push them, the more dangerous they become. They are not like us. They don't fear the end. They fight to ensure it never comes. A heavy silence fell over the room. The implications were clear. Earth was no longer a backwater planet to be ignored. It was a storm waiting to engulf the galaxy. The council leader finally spoke, his voice grim. Then what is your solution, Admiral? If humans are as adaptable and resilient as you claim, how do we stop them? Admiral Gorth didn't answer immediately. His cybernetic eye whirred softly as he stared at the hologram of a human ship. We don't stop them, he said at last. We either control them or ensure they never see us coming. The chamber erupted again, but this time, it wasn't chaos. It was fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of humanity. Somewhere, light years away, Earth remained silent, its people unaware of the dread they had sparked in the hearts of the galaxy's most powerful beings. But for how long? The invention that changed everything. The Galactic Council chamber still echoed with whispers of Earth's meteoric rise, but one question haunted every mind. How? How had humanity turned the tide so dramatically in just a few years? The answer lay in a single device, an invention so audacious that it redefined warfare itself, the gravimetric pulse disruptor. The story began 5 years earlier, deep within the icy moons of Saturn. Hidden beneath the barren surface of Enceladus was Earth's most secretive research station, Project Forge. There, a team of Earth's brightest minds worked relentlessly, spurred on by desperation. Humanity's first encounters with the Galactic Coalition had ended in humiliation. Ships destroyed, colonies abandoned, lives lost. But humans weren't known for giving up. How do we fight an enemy that's light years ahead of us? Dr. Aisha Bennett, the project's lead scientist, had asked her team during one of their first meetings. Her piercing eyes scanned the room, filled with engineers, physicists, and even hackers from Earth's underground networks. We make their strengths irrelevant. It was a simple idea but terrifyingly ambitious. Instead of matching the Coalition's advanced technology, humans would rewrite the rules of war. The key lay in the wreckage of a Coalition destroyer, salvaged during a failed raid on Earth's outer colonies. Its core systems were damaged, its AI fried, but its gravimetric stabilizers, a technology Earth had never seen, remained intact. Months turned into years as the team dismantled, studied, and reassembled the stabilizers. They didn't just replicate the technology, they hacked it, twisted it into something new. What emerged was the gravimetric pulse disruptor, or GPD, a device capable of manipulating gravitational fields at a molecular level. It didn't just disable enemy shields, it overloaded them, collapsing entire systems with a single pulse. The first prototype test was a disaster. The device overloaded, causing a chain reaction that melted half the lab. But that failure only fueled the team's determination. "We're close," Dr. Bennett had said, standing amidst the smoking ruins. "We just need to think bigger." And they did. 3 years later, the GPD was ready. Its first deployment came during the Battle of Vega Prime, a critical turning point for humanity. Coalition fleets had surrounded the human colony, confident in their victory. From a distance, Earth's ships appeared outnumbered and outgunned. But when the battle began, everything changed. Coalition ships fired their first volleys, deadly energy beams designed to rip through hulls and vaporize anything in their path. But instead of explosions, there was only silence. Their weapons systems flickered, then went dark. Shields collapsed like paper under a torrent of water. In seconds, Coalition fleets were sitting ducks. Human ships struck back with precision, targeting engines and weapon arrays, crippling their enemies without delivering fatal blows. The Coalition had prepared for a brawl. Instead, they were trapped in a nightmare of invisible attacks they couldn't understand, let alone counter. Back in the council chamber, The footage of the Battle of Vega Prime played on the hologram. The devastation was undeniable, and the implications were chilling. If the GPD could disable fleets this easily, what else were humans capable of? Counselor Ulithar, a veteran strategist from the Andoran Dominion, leaned forward, her crystalline body refracting the dim light. "Their weapon is ingenious," she admitted reluctantly. "But technology alone doesn't explain their victory. How did they adapt so quickly? They shouldn't have even known where to begin." That was the real question, wasn't it? The GPD wasn't just an invention. It was a symbol of humanity's unique ability to innovate under pressure. Earth didn't have centuries to develop its technology like the Coalition had. Every setback was a catalyst for change, every failure a stepping stone to success. Unbeknownst to the Council, the secret to humanity's rapid progress wasn't just their ingenuity, it was their desperation. At Project Forge, engineers worked 18-hour shifts, fueled by little more than caffeine and the haunting memories of friends and family lost in earlier battles. "We don't have time to be perfect," one young programmer had said during a late-night session. "We just have to be better." The Coalition's advanced AI systems, thought to be impenetrable, fell victim to human hackers who thought outside the box. Earth's engineers took clunky, outdated tech and modified it into something unpredictable, something alien minds couldn't anticipate. The GPD was just the beginning. As the Council debated, their spy network was already at work, sending agents to infiltrate Earth's defenses. One such agent, a Kitharan operative named Jex, had managed to sneak into the outskirts of Project Forge. What he found terrified him. Humans weren't just building new weapons, they were experimenting with technology that could reshape entire battlefields. One prototype, codenamed Vortex, could create localized black holes, swallowing enemy fleets whole. Another, called the Chameleon Protocol, could render human ships invisible to even the most advanced sensors. Jex barely escaped with his life, carrying stolen blueprints and chilling first-hand accounts. But as he transmitted his findings back to the Council, his ship was intercepted by a lone human vessel. The last transmission from Jex was a single word: "Run." The Council sat in stunned silence as the recording ended. The humans weren't just advancing. They were evolving, rewriting the rules of warfare in ways the galaxy had never seen. And the most terrifying part, they were just getting started. "The question isn't if they'll surpass us," Admiral Gorth finally said, breaking the silence. "The question is when." Far from the Council chambers, deep within Project Forge, Dr. Bennett watched her team test the latest iteration of the GPD. She smiled grimly. "They have no idea what's coming. A test of power." The Coalition was done with speculation. They needed answers, and they needed them now. If humanity's technological leap was truly as devastating as rumored, the balance of power across the galaxy was at stake. To test the strength of Earth's defenses, the Galactic Coalition dispatched their most advanced warship, the Invictus. The Invictus was a marvel of engineering, feared across the stars. It carried weapons capable of vaporizing moons and shields strong enough to withstand supernova-level blasts. Its arrival in the Sol system wasn't subtle. It was a show of power, designed to intimidate Earth into submission, or provoke them into revealing their true capabilities. As the colossal ship exited hyperspace near Pluto, its captain, Admiral Zarnox, issued a single transmission to Earth. "This is the Galactic Coalition's flagship Invictus. Stand down and prepare for immediate inspection. Resistance will be considered an act of war." His tone was cold, his confidence absolute. No species had ever dared to defy the Invictus. Deep within Earth's military command center, the mood was tense but not panicked. General Marcus Taylor, head of Earth's Space Defense Forces, watched the Invictus on the central display. The ship's size dwarfed any human vessel, its presence a shadow over the icy dwarf planet. "What's the plan, General?" asked Commander Sarah Patel, his second in command. They'd brought their best. Marcus smiled faintly, his steel-gray eyes locked on the screen. Good. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate us. The room buzzed with activity as Earth's response took shape. There were no grand fleets, no overwhelming displays of power. Instead, a single, unassuming human ship was dispatched to meet the Invictus. It was the Erebus, a mid-sized frigate that looked painfully inadequate next to the Coalition's flagship. Admiral Zarnox sneered as the Erebus approached. "This is their answer," he muttered to his crew. "Send a warning shot. Let them know we're not here to play games." The Invictus unleashed a low-powered plasma burst, enough to cripple most vessels without destroying them. But something strange happened. The plasma dissipated mid-flight, as if swallowed by an invisible force. "Admiral, their defenses. They're redirecting the plasma," one of Zarnox's officers stammered. "What?" Zarnox barked. "That's impossible." But it wasn't. The Erebus had deployed a gravimetric pulse disruptor, creating a localized field that manipulated the energy of the plasma, turning it harmless. The Coalition's weapon, thought to be invincible, had just been neutralized by a ship that should have been obliterated. The Erebus didn't fire back. Instead, it moved with precision, closing the distance between itself and the Invictus. The Coalition crew scrambled to react, but their systems began to falter. Weapons wouldn't lock on. Shields flickered and died. Even basic navigation became a struggle. "What's happening?" Zarnox shouted, panic creeping into his voice. How are they doing this? The answer lay in the Erebus's advanced electronic warfare capabilities. Earth had designed its ships not to overpower but to outthink. The Erebus had infiltrated the Invictus's systems, using adaptive algorithms to exploit weaknesses the Coalition didn't even know they had. Back on Earth, General Taylor watched the operation unfold. "They're panicking," he said, arms crossed. "Just like we predicted." Commander Patel nodded. "Should we finish them off?" Taylor shook his head. "Not yet. Let them stew." The Erebus continued its dance around the Invictus, demonstrating complete control over the engagement. It never fired a single shot. Instead, it disabled the Coalition ship piece by piece, leaving it defenseless and humiliated. Admiral Zarnox, now seething, made a desperate move. "Activate the Nova Lance," he ordered. The Nova Lance was the Invictus's ultimate weapon, capable of destroying an entire planet. If Earth wanted to play games, he would end it with one overwhelming strike. But as the weapon charged, alarms blared across the Invictus. The systems controlling the Nova Lance had been compromised. A message appeared on every screen, written in plain galactic standard. "If you fire, you'll never leave this system alive. Stand down." Zarnox's hands trembled. His crew looked to him for orders, but he had none to give. Humanity had won without firing a single shot. The Erebus transmitted a final message before departing. This was a warning. "Return to your space. Next time, we won't hold back." As the Invictus limped away, humiliated and broken, Admiral Zarnox knew the truth. Earth wasn't just a rising power. It was a force the galaxy had never encountered before. Far away in the Galactic Council chambers, the report from the Invictus sent shockwaves through the assembled leaders. Humanity's technology wasn't just advanced, it was untouchable. And worse, their strategy was deliberate, calculated, and terrifyingly effective. "They didn't destroy us," Zarnox concluded in his debrief. "But make no mistake, they could have. And the next time, they will." Earth's message was clear. Humanity wasn't playing by the galaxy's rules anymore. They were rewriting them. And the galaxy wasn't ready. Fear spreads across the stars. The Galactic Coalition had expected a swift, crushing demonstration of power when they sent the Invictus to Earth. What they got instead was humiliation, a defeat so profound that it echoed across the galaxy, spreading fear like wildfire. News of humanity's technological prowess, combined with their cunning strategies, spread faster than light, carried by surviving Coalition officers, rogue traders, and independent observers. On distant worlds, Alien civilians whispered in crowded markets and dimly lit taverns. The name Earth became a source of dread. Their warships described as ghosts that struck without warning and disappeared without a trace. Rumors painted humans as ruthless, emotionless machines, willing to destroy entire fleets without a shred of mercy. Others called them geniuses, innovators who had cracked the codes of warfare in ways no one else had imagined. But the truth was far more unsettling. Humanity wasn't just powerful. They were unpredictable. In the Galactic Council chambers, fear and paranoia gripped the members. Meetings stretched for days as leaders debated how to handle the human threat. Should they attempt diplomacy? Could humanity even be reasoned with? Or was preemptive war the only solution? Councillor Ulithar of the Andoran Dominion broke the silence during one such heated debate. "We must be realistic," she said, her crystalline form glowing dimly. "Humans have proven they can dismantle our most advanced technology. Even our mightiest warship was rendered useless without them firing a single shot. What hope do we have in open conflict?" Admiral Gorth, the grizzled Zarnak strategist who had warned the Council earlier, nodded grimly. "She's right. Humanity has exploited our weaknesses in ways we didn't know existed. If we push them, they will only adapt further. But what if we strike first?" snarled Councillor Xarn of the Varkan Dominion, slamming his clawed fist on the table. "Before they grow any stronger, we cannot let them gain more ground." "Strike first," Ulithar countered, her voice sharp, "and give them the perfect excuse to retaliate. Did you not read the report from the Invictus? Humanity isn't just fighting for survival. They're fighting for dominance. If we attack, they'll make sure we never recover." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled over the assembled councillors. The galaxy's most powerful leaders were paralyzed, trapped between their fear of humanity's strength and the knowledge that any action might make things worse. Meanwhile, on the outer worlds of the Coalition, paranoia turned to panic. Planets near the borders of human space prepared for invasion, deploying fleets and fortifying defenses. But no human warships came. Instead, Earth's silence became its own form of warfare, a psychological game that left the galaxy guessing. On the agricultural colony of Vintra, a rumor spread that human ships had been spotted in the system. Farmers abandoned their fields, citizens barricaded their homes, and local officials scrambled to organize a militia. But when weeks passed without incident, the panic subsided, leaving the colony economically crippled and socially fractured. Similar stories played out across the galaxy. Merchants rerouted their trade lanes to avoid human space, driving up prices and causing shortages on countless worlds. Military academies rewrote their training programs to include strategies for combating human tactics, though none seemed effective. The mere idea of humanity was reshaping the galaxy without a single shot fired. On the Coalition capital world, a clandestine meeting took place in a secure, underground chamber. Only the most trusted military minds and spies were present. A hologram of Jex, the Kitharan spy who had infiltrated Earth's research station, flickered in the center of the room. "What did you learn during your time on Earth?" asked one of the generals, his voice tight with tension. Jex's hologram hesitated. "Their technology is advanced, yes, but their real strength isn't in their weapons. It's in their minds." The room grew quiet as he continued. "Humans innovate faster than any species I've ever encountered. They don't see failure as defeat, they see it as progress. Every battle they lose teaches them something new. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity. You cannot fight them the way you fight each other." A council spy leaned forward, his voice low. "Then how do we stop them?" Jex's hologram flickered slightly, as if reflecting his own unease. "You don't," he said at last. "You either ally with them, or you pray they don't see you as a threat." Far from the Council's chambers, humanity remained silent, watching the galaxy's reaction with cold calculation. General Marcus Taylor stood in the observation deck of Earth's orbital defense station, staring out at the endless void. "They're scared," said Commander Patel, stepping up beside him. They should be, Marcus replied, his voice steady. Fear keeps them from acting. It gives us time to prepare. But what's the plan, sir? She asked. Do we wait for them to attack, or do we make the first move? Marcus's lips curved into a grim smile. Neither. We let them destroy themselves. Fear will do more damage to the coalition than we ever could. And so, humanity waited, its fleets hidden in shadow, its strategies unknown. Across the galaxy, alliances crumbled, leaders argued, and paranoia spread. The greatest powers in the galaxy were unraveling, not by human weapons, but by the thought of what those weapons could do. Humanity wasn't just fighting a war anymore, they were rewriting it. And the galaxy had no choice but to play by their rules. Humanity's hidden weapon. The Galactic Coalition was unraveling. Paranoia had become its greatest enemy, spreading faster than any fleet could travel. Yet, even in their desperation to understand and counter humanity's rise, they overlooked the most dangerous element of all, humans themselves. Councillor Xarn of the Varkan Dominion growled in frustration as yet another report arrived on his desk. They've sabotaged another outpost, he muttered, his claws scraping the table. How are they doing this? The holoscreen flickered to life, showing the wreckage of a coalition supply depot near the fringes of human space. Once again, there were no survivors. Security footage recovered from the ruins showed nothing but flickering lights and shadows. The only clue was a single chilling message etched into the wall of the command center. This is your warning. Admiral Gorth, sitting across from Xarn, leaned back in his chair, his cybernetic eye whirring softly. It's not their ships or weapons you should fear, he said grimly. It's their operatives. Humans fight wars differently. They don't just attack your fleets. They dismantle your will to fight. On a distant coalition world, deep within an underground base, Jex, the Kitharan spy, recounted his mission to a group of elite coalition agents. His voice was steady, but the fear in his eyes betrayed him. They sent me to learn about their technology, Jex began. But what I found was far worse. Humans aren't just using machines. They've made themselves into weapons. The agents exchanged uneasy glances as Jex continued. Their operatives aren't soldiers in the traditional sense. They're engineers, hackers, and strategists, trained to exploit our every weakness. I watched one human disable an entire defense grid with nothing but a tablet and a smile. Another infiltrated a coalition command ship disguised as a janitor. By the time they realized who he was, he'd already rerouted their weapons to fire on their own fleet. Are they cybernetically enhanced? One agent asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. No, Jex replied, shaking his head. They don't need enhancements. Their greatest weapon is their adaptability. They think differently. They see connections we miss, and they never stop learning. Back on Earth, General Marcus Taylor stood in the heart of Project Forge, watching a live demonstration of the latest human innovation. A group of operatives moved through a simulated alien facility, their movements precise and calculated. They bypassed security systems, planted false data in the command logs, and neutralized the guards without firing a single shot. Dr. Aisha Bennett, standing beside Taylor, smiled proudly. They're not just soldiers, she explained. They're problem solvers. Every challenge we give them, they find a way to overcome. That's why the coalition will never understand us. They rely on tradition. We rely on innovation. Taylor nodded. And that's why we'll win. They'll keep throwing ships and armies at us, and we'll keep dismantling them from the inside. In the Galactic Council chamber, a new crisis unfolded. Reports from multiple sectors confirmed a series of mysterious disruptions. Power grids failing, supply lines disappearing, and entire fleets going dark. The coalition was losing control, and no one could explain how. Councillor Ulithar addressed the assembly, her crystalline body glowing with urgency. We've underestimated them again. Humanity isn't just fighting battles. They're waging a psychological war. Every disruption, every failure weakens our unity. If we don't act now, there won't be a coalition left to defend. But what can we do? Sarn demanded, his voice trembling with frustration. Their operatives are ghosts. Their technology is impenetrable. How do we fight an enemy we can't even see? Admiral Gorth's cybernetic eye glinted as he stood. You don't fight them, he said simply. You contain them. We need to isolate Earth, cut them off from the rest of the galaxy. If we can't stop their operatives, we make sure they have nowhere to go. The Council murmured in agreement, desperate for any solution. Plans were drafted for a massive blockade, a ring of ships and stations designed to quarantine humanity. But even as they prepared, doubts lingered. Could they truly contain a species that had already defied every expectation? On the outskirts of human space, a lone coalition scout ship monitored a small, unmarked human vessel. The scout's captain ordered his crew to prepare for capture, confident in their superior firepower. But as the human ship approached, it transmitted a single message: run. Moments later, the scout's systems went offline. Lights flickered, engines sputtered, and weapons refused to fire. A figure appeared on the scout's bridge. A human operative, clad in a sleek black suit, his face calm and emotionless. Tell your leaders this, the operative said, his voice quiet but firm. We are not your enemies. But if you make us one, you won't survive. Before the crew could respond, the human disappeared, leaving the scout adrift in the void. When the ship's systems finally rebooted, the human vessel was long gone. Back on Earth, Commander Patel approached General Taylor in the war room. The coalition is planning a blockade, she reported. They think they can contain us. Taylor chuckled softly, shaking his head. Let them try. Every time they act out of fear, they give us more opportunities. And if they escalate? Patel asked. Taylor's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. Then we show them what humans are truly capable of. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ships, their technology, or even their operatives. It was their relentless determination to adapt and overcome. And as fear spread across the stars, one thing became clear. The coalition wasn't fighting a war. They were surviving a storm. The final gambit. The Galactic Coalition was desperate. Their attempts to undermine humanity had backfired spectacularly. Their fleets were crippled, and their once unshakable alliances were fractured. Fear of humanity had turned into paranoia, and paranoia into chaos. The Council knew that if they didn't act soon, they wouldn't have anything left to defend. That's when the Coalition's High Command approved a risky and controversial plan: Operation Overrun. The idea was simple: target a vulnerable human colony, strike fast and hard, and force Earth to reveal its full military might. The Council believed that if they could provoke humanity into overextending, they might find a weakness. The target was Arden's Reach, a small agricultural outpost near the edge of human space. It was lightly defended, far from Earth's core systems, and most importantly, its loss wouldn't cripple humanity's economy. The Council believed the humans wouldn't expect such a direct strike. But they were wrong. As the Coalition fleet approached Arden's Reach, its commander, Admiral Trixar, stood proudly on the bridge of the warship Dominion's Edge. The fleet consisted of 20 battlecruisers, 3 dreadnoughts, and dozens of support vessels, a force large enough to obliterate the small colony. Humans may be clever, Trixar said to his officers, but they are not invincible. Today we remind them who controls this galaxy. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their weapons primed. Arden's Reach appeared on their sensors, a cluster of domed settlements surrounded by green fields and shimmering water. The colony looked peaceful, defenseless, exactly as expected. Begin the assault, Trixar commanded. The first wave of orbital bombardments never landed. Before the Coalition's weapons could fire, their targeting systems went offline. Holograms flickered as data feeds scrambled, leaving the fleet momentarily blind. The bridge of the Dominion's Edge erupted into chaos. What's happening? Trixar barked. Unknown interference, Admiral. His communications officer replied. It's coming from everywhere. That's when the trap was sprung. Out of the planet's shadow emerged Earth's counterattack, but it wasn't a massive fleet as the Coalition had expected. Instead, it was a collection of small, agile ships equipped with technology the Coalition couldn't comprehend. The vessels shimmered with active camouflage, flickering in and out of visibility as they darted toward the Coalition fleet. Enemy ships incoming, one of Trixar's officers shouted. Small class, but Admiral, they're already in firing range. The human ships didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they deployed a series of gravimetric mines, devices that created localized gravitational anomalies. Coalition ships were pulled in every direction, their engines overloading as they struggled to maintain stability. Two battle cruisers collided, their shields failing under the strain. This isn't a battle, Trixar whispered, his confidence evaporating. It's a slaughter. Back on Earth, General Taylor watched the engagement from the command center. Holographic displays showed the Coalition fleet tearing itself apart, their formations disintegrating under the precision of Earth's tactics. Status? Taylor asked. Commander Patel smirked. The mines are working as expected. They're down 6 ships already, and we haven't lost a single drone. Taylor nodded. The ships attacking the Coalition weren't manned. They were autonomous drones piloted by advanced AI, each one capable of adapting to battlefield conditions in real time. It was a demonstration of Earth's philosophy. Why risk lives when machines could fight just as effectively? They'll retreat soon, Taylor said. Prepare Phase 2. As the Coalition fleet struggled to regroup, Admiral Trixar realized the battle was lost. Signal the fleet to retreat, he ordered. We need to regroup and... His words were cut off as a massive energy surge rippled through the battlefield. The source was a human warship, the Revenant, which had been cloaked until now. It fired a single shot, a concentrated gravimetric pulse that disabled every Coalition ship's engines simultaneously. Admiral, his second-in-command said, her voice trembling, we're trapped. A transmission from the Revenant crackled to life on every Coalition ship. A human figure appeared, their face obscured by a helmet. Their voice was calm, almost dispassionate. You came to Arden's Reach expecting weakness, the figure said. Instead, you found strength. Leave now, and you will live. Stay, and you will be annihilated. Admiral Trixar hesitated, his pride warring with his survival instincts. But as he watched his fleet crumble, he knew there was no choice. Order a full retreat, he said bitterly. We can't win this. The Coalition fleet limped away, battered and humiliated. As the human warships disappeared back into the shadows, Arden's Reach remained untouched, a testament to Earth's ability to defend its people without losing a single life. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council was thrown into chaos. Operation Overrun had not only failed but exposed the Coalition's vulnerabilities to the entire galaxy. Earth's advanced technology and innovative strategies were undeniable. Worse, humanity had sent a clear message. They didn't need large fleets or overwhelming numbers to win. They only needed their ingenuity. We underestimated them again, Counselor Ulithar said during an emergency session. We thought we were testing their strength. But it's clear they were testing ours. Admiral Gorth shook his head, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly. This wasn't a test, he said. It was a warning. And if we don't listen, the next time will be the end. Far away, on the bridge of the Revenant, General Taylor reviewed the mission logs. The Coalition will think twice before coming after another colony, he said to Commander Patel. Patel nodded. And if they do? Taylor's expression hardened. Then we remind them why humanity doesn't lose. The galaxy was learning the hard way that humanity didn't just fight wars, they ended them. And they always did it on their terms. A redefined galaxy. The Galactic Coalition was in disarray. Their fleets were battered, their alliances fractured, and their confidence shattered. The failed attack on Arden's Reach had become a cautionary tale whispered across the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity was not a threat to be provoked. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Galactic Council convened in an emergency summit, their largest in decades. Leaders from every corner of the galaxy gathered in the Grand Chamber, their expressions grim. The room buzzed with tension as Councillor Ulithar began the proceedings. "Let us not delude ourselves," she said, her crystalline body refracting the light. "Humanity has demonstrated they are far more advanced and cunning than we anticipated. We must decide how to engage with them, peacefully or otherwise." The debate raged for hours. Some councillors advocated for diplomacy, desperate to avoid further conflict. Others, like Councillor Xarn of the Varkan Dominion, demanded immediate retaliation. "Peace is not an option," Xarn roared, slamming his claws on the table. "They've humiliated us at every turn. If we let them grow stronger, they will dominate the galaxy." Ulithar responded sharply, her voice cutting through the noise. "And what would you propose, Xarn? Another fleet, another failure. Humanity has outsmarted us at every step. Do you truly believe we can overpower them with brute force?" Before Xarn could respond, the chamber's lights flickered, and the room plunged into darkness. Panic rippled through the assembly as holographic screens around the chamber suddenly activated. The image of a human figure appeared, their face obscured by shadows. "Councillors," the figure said, their voice calm but commanding. "We regret to interrupt, but it seems your deliberations concern us." The room fell silent, every eye fixed on the mysterious figure. Councillor Xarn snarled, "How dare you invade this sacred chamber? This is an act of war." The figure ignored him. "We intercepted your plans for a blockade. Let us save you the trouble. It will fail. We intercepted your plans for sabotage. That too will fail. You've seen what we can do, but I assure you, we've shown only a fraction of our capabilities." Ulithar stepped forward, her crystalline form glowing brighter. "Then tell us, human, what is it you want?" The figure's voice remained steady. "We seek no war, no conquest. But make no mistake, we will defend our people, our colonies, and our future. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us. But if you insist on making us your enemy, you will leave us no choice." The figure paused, their presence dominating the room. "Let this be our final message. Adapt or be left behind. The galaxy is changing, and we are the catalyst." With that, the screens went dark, and the lights returned. The councillors sat in stunned silence, the weight of the message hanging over them like a storm cloud. Far from the council chamber, on Earth, General Marcus Taylor stood in the war room, watching the live feed of the council's reaction. "Think they'll listen?" Commander Patil asked, standing beside him. "They will," Taylor replied. "Fear is a powerful motivator. They've seen what we're capable of. They won't risk open war again. And if they do," Taylor's gaze hardened, "then we'll remind them why humanity doesn't play by their rules." The Council's decision came swiftly. The Coalition announced a formal truce with Earth, granting humanity equal standing in interstellar diplomacy. Though the peace was fragile, it marked a turning point in galactic history. The galaxy watched as humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as equals. Their ingenuity, adaptability, and resilience had reshaped the balance of power, forcing even the most advanced civilizations to rethink their place in the cosmos. Years later, in a quiet moment, Dr. Aisha Bennett stood in the observation deck of Project Forge, watching Earth's newest fleet glide through the stars. Beside her, General Taylor joined her, his expression thoughtful. "We've come a long way," she said, a hint of pride in her voice. Taylor nodded. "But this is just the beginning." And he was right. Humanity had proven its strength, not through sheer power, but through its ability to adapt, innovate, and thrive in the face of adversity. The galaxy was no longer the same, and neither was humanity. They weren't just players in the game. They were rewriting the rules. The stars were theirs to shape, and the galaxy was finally beginning to understand the truth. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were the future.